Hi guys, it's Stu from Samsung Now. Samsung Now is where we look at the latest from Samsung, we review it, we discuss it, and our reviews are slightly different in the fact that we call them user case reviews, where I've actually had the product now for some time and I'm using it daily in my own sort of work and everyday life to give a user case review in terms of that I've actually had the product and I'm giving you a review based on that experience. Excuse the paper. So today we're going to review and look at the Samsung, I've got this written down because it's a long thing, U28E590D 20-inch UHD 4K monitor. God, why do they call these things such long-winded names? First thing off the bat, it's a 4K monitor. They call them ultra high definition, they call them a whole bunch of other things. QHD, UHD, 4K. Essentially, the thing you want to look out for is 4K. It's a 28-inch monitor. Ideally, with a monitor, you want it as big as possible if it's a 4K monitor. It's actually the second 4K monitor I've owned. Previous to this Samsung one, which I bought recently, I owned an AOC 4K monitor, which was pretty good. And even just sort of last year, 2016, it would cost me, it was around about £500. But now you can pick up 4K monitors relatively cheaply. I got this one from Amazon for around about $320. So, you know, they're coming down in price too. What is also nice is that the 4K monitor I had last year, I'm doing a bit of a comparison, but even just sort of within a year, the 4K monitor I had from AOC had an awful ghosting issue. There was a latency of like 14 milliseconds, which for games was pretty awful. So the great thing about the Samsung is the latency now is reduced down to 1 millisecond, which is brilliant. You know, for you know, a relatively cheap 4K 28-inch monitor, that's a pretty decent thing. Now I've got a whole load of specs which I'll sort of reel off quickly. So one of the things that it does have is this AMD FreeSync thing. Essentially that stops tearing. I'm sure a lot of you play games, some of you play them on PC, and I did have, up until last year, a very powerful PC before I broke it down and sold it off. But one of the things I found when playing games, and this was actually on the AOC monitor on 4K, there was an awful lot of tearing, and I had an NVIDIA 1080. The AMD FreeSync, this is an AMD thing, not NVIDIA, I have to add, dramatically reduces that awful tearing you see, sort of if you're sort of panning left and right or going up and down, and more so left and right, I imagine. So it stops that awful sort of tearing that you get. They say they've upgraded the HDMI support. You know, it's pretty much nonsense, but it's there's a 60 Hertz refresh rate, which is pretty much standard. You know, you get it on TVs now. I mean, and a lot of monitors, their refresh rates are like 120, some come in at 240, and of course, I really believe that's almost a nonsense because, you know, that kind of high refresh rate on a monitor sort of so big, you're really not going to notice it. So really, you know, maybe 60 to 120 is good, but anything above that, I really failed to see that you're going to notice it. So these hugely expensive, I think it's Acer, do these ridiculously expensive gaming monitors that have this huge refresh rate. So I do wonder the validity and, you know, whether there's a real sort of purchase value in that. One of the cool things about this monitor is one of the reasons I bought it, is that not only is the latency really low, but it has a game mode. So basically I've actually got it set up now, and you'll see where I'm sort of going through the menu of this monitor, I've actually got it set to game mode. So a lot of the options are grayed out. And the only reason they're grayed out is because I'm in sort of game mode. It sort of optimizes the monitor for games. It's a good setting just to have normally to work. You know, it's nice and bright. The colors are a decent sort of, they're not too in your face. They're sort of more natural. So yeah, and it's super quick and super responsive. So yeah, 4K, billions of colors. It's super rich. It's really vivid. It has some functions that it has picture-in-picture, picture-by-picture, 2 HDMIs. It's a 1.2 DisplayPort. If you've got a graphics card, a pretty decent one, it will come with a DisplayPort. As long as it's 1.2, I would thoroughly recommend using that. V support at the back, so you can sort of connect it to an arm or up to the wall or the ceiling, whatever sort of floats your boat, really. Yeah, that's about that. We'll get rid of that. But what did I think? Well, 4K panels, in my experience, tend to be an awful lot brighter. So that's the first thing that gets you. It's like, bang, you know, where are my eyeballs? I can't see anymore. The other thing you notice is the smoothness of the text and the readability of it. And that's kind of true for a lot of 4K panels. But as I've said, you know, the one I had before, which is slightly old generation, the AOC one, which is only last year, had awful ghosting. There was bad angles as well. Talking about angles, this has great angles. Now, I don't mean these, I mean the viewing angles. They're pretty decent. I'm pretty impressed with how good they are. And I must stop looking over to it, but I'm kind of drawn to it, a bit like a moth to a bulb. But yeah, so those are the first things you notice: the clarity, the brightness of it. It's got some. There's no flickering. I'm not noticing any sort of issues with it, sort of using it day to day. Just in general web surfing, I've used it for some games. I don't have AMD, but I have used it for some games when I plugged in my PlayStation and what have you, and it does look pretty decent, I must say. I've got a PlayStation Pro, and it looks pretty good, I must say. I've also included some of the images which you'll see. I've done some tests on grayscale, on black, white, red, green and blue, which you should begin to see around about now in this video doing stuff. Hey. Are you done? Have you finished? What did you think? It's pretty good, isn't it? The colours are pretty vivid. There's not you know, this is about a week old now. There's no dead pixels. There's no shadowing. I'm not noticing any lighting issues. You know, because you know, there's no sort of patchiness to the lighting. The angles, as you could see, were pretty good. The menus pretty straightforward. Probably a little bit finicky, you know. Could have been clearer, could have been easier to use. The fact that you have to press the button twice to turn it off, essentially, you know, once to get the menu up and then move down to get to off. You know, maybe just press it twice or something, that would have been sufficient. So what did I think? What did I think of this monitor? Well, first of all, I think it looks great. It's still a little bit old-fashioned, you know. They're tending to make monitors still, and I suppose this is the budget end, but, you know, it's still looking a little bit... you know, they want to sort of zhuzh them up a bit. Make them a bit like your TV's Samsung, you know, make them a bit more sparkly. But I do like the stand, and they've kind of got that stylistic hint from their TVs pretty much. It has no speakers. Important, no speakers. And no one wants speakers in the monitor because they're awful. You know, you don't go spending money on your speakers in monitors because it's going to sound really bad. Just get some. if you're spending that much on a monitor, just buy some, cough up, splash out a little. So I really like this monitor. I think it's a great monitor. I think it's a good buy. It'll probably go down in price still. It's got great colors, it's nice and vivid, it's easy to use. It worked really well straight out of the box. I didn't have to sort of faff around with too much calibration. It's got good connections at the back, could possibly do with maybe a couple more, but overall, you know, it's pretty good. The panel's decent, you know, Samsung make decent panels, and I love it. I'm really pleased I got it. Plus it's, you know, that inch, a little bit bigger than, you know, the other monitors that are sort of standard around 27. This is actually 28, and we know that extra inch makes a big difference, so we like to tell the girlies. So yeah, it's a recommended buy from me. I would give it, as a monitor, probably 8 out of 10. What would make it a 9 or a 10? I don't know, maybe better design, more connections at the back. That could possibly swing to a 9. I don't think any monitor's really a 10. Not even this TV is a 10. There's some issues with that. Image is great. There's a few other things I'm not too sure, but that's for another day. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to watch some of my other videos that will appear after this one in a grid and stuff. It'll be great to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts on what monitor you've got, what monitor you're thinking of buying, what you think of this monitor. And also don't forget that we'll be doing other videos, like we're going to have like a thing on Tuesdays where it's a bit silly, like a Tuesday tantrum type thing where I'm just going to vent. Thursday it's going to be more about thoughts on tech and, you know, where it's going and what's been happening that week, and that's going to be kind of an open discussion with you guys. I want you to be involved in that. I want you to be talking about that. I want your involvement, and I'm going to be calling you out by name, people. Okay, so when you're on the Thursday thing and you're commenting, the following week I'm going to be commenting back to you. I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyway, enough. I'm out of here. Remember, it's an 8 out of 10 for this wonderful Samsung monitor, and we'll be back next Friday. I'm going to be looking to review either the TV behind me or the 4K UHD 4K 8500 Samsung DVD. No, don't use DVD. Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray thingy. Okay, thanks. Have a great weekend. Thumbs up and stuff. Hi guys, it's Stu from Samsung Now. Why did I pause? What's with the pause?